Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. It is May the 5th. So, a happy belated May the 4th be with you yesterday, Star Wars Day, if you're a Star Wars fan. Woo! I watched some Star Wars last night. Just wanted to make sure everybody's feeling good today, feeling happy, feeling healthy. I wanted to thank everybody that's returning to the event today to talk about job readiness. For anybody that's joining us for the first time, welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. I know that you could be doing a lot of other things, but to have you with us right now is just absolutely fantastic. So if this is your first time joining us, take a look at some of our older videos. We've got a lot of good content on our Facebook page that's going to be talking about everything from resume writing and cover letters to prepping for the interview. So please have a look at those videos, comment, share, get in contact with those ones. I'll be always referencing some of the older material that we've talked about because I think it's really important to keep reminding people. Things like self-care, making sure that you're doing the things that you need to do to stay ready, to stay job ready, to be willing and motivated. So today we're talking all about job readiness, okay? So the agenda today is really, I want to really highlight what job readiness means. And on the second part of that, it's going to kind of lead me into talking about some of the essential skills that you can focus on developing so that you are job ready, so that you are ready to be successful on the workplace, okay? And then, as always, we like to finish with some resources that can help you either, develop those skills yourself or to get in contact with some of the community resources that are out there. There's so many, it's absolutely nuts. So we're gonna get into some of that. But first, so we're going to talk about job readiness. Again, I've got my notes here today to keep me on track, keep me organized. So, job readiness defined. I like to ask people, if they're job ready. You ready to work? And people always go, yeah, I'm ready to go. I've been sitting at home. I've been getting stir crazy. I think that's something a lot of people can identify with right now. Just wanting to go to work, get out of the house, make some money, get a routine going. But there's a lot more that goes into being job ready than just having that itch to get to work. And so that's what I really want to make sure people are understanding when we talk about it today, okay? So when I think of being job ready, I think of, like that ready, set, go, or, ready, willing, and able comes to mind, and let's break that down a little bit. So when we talk about being ready, I think of ready to go, I'm ready to go out the door. And so I've got, things like my kids, I got them taken care of. So daycare's something that I want to make sure of, making sure that my health, that I'm physically healthy enough to go to work. If you're like, a lot of people out there, you've got some sort of physical ailment. So you need to make sure that you're feeling really healthy to make sure that you're good to go. Making sure that when you do leave your house, you've got a way to get to work, whether it's, walking and biking, the healthy ways, running if you really wanted to, but, taking a bike or taking a bus or taking a cab, taking a car, carpooling, all of those different methods of getting to work are what make you ready, okay? And things like obviously food and shelter, so when I talk about all these other things, making sure it's about stability. And one of the things that I remember learning in school was about the hierarchy of needs. It's like a triangle here. And really what we talk about is building a good foundation so that we can work upwards, okay? And having a good foundation means that you've got, safety to go home to. You got a place to sleep. You've got food on the table. You've got the medications that you need and the transportation that you need. And, the freedom to leave your house, because if you do have kids or if you do have a dependent, that can be something that can really tie you back to being able to be ready to go to work, So that's what when I think about ready to go, I think about that, And the next part about being job ready is that willingness, and I think people are always willing to go to work, right? They're always willing to get a job and to land that perfect job. But there's always that flip side of the coin that I ask people about, right? And what it really comes down to is, are you willing to experience the whole of it? What I mean by that, are you willing to go get a job? Yes, but are you willing to experience failures? Are you willing to experience challenges that are going to for lack of a better word, challenge you, to make you get outside your comfort zone. You know, and I think that it's nice to be successful, but there's a lot of value in failure, and there's a lot of value in learning lessons. And I think that when we're going to become job ready, there's a lot of skills that we need to reflect upon on ourselves, right? And abilities that we need to reflect on ourselves to make sure that we are willing to go through that experience, to get outside of our comfort zone, right? Because what happens is when we build that motivation then starts to build routines. And if you're motivated day after day and to do those same things, that routine is going to start to develop. And when you have a routine, right, routine develops into stability. And of course, when you have stability, that equates to consistency. So stability and balance, right? Having a good foundation, right? And so that really adds to, you know, all those ready factors. Being willy-nilly, no. Being willing to go through that experience and to learn and to apply yourself is going to lend to that really strong foundation, right? So there's the, you know, the readiness, the willingness, and then able, right? That's that third part. And being able to go to work, you know, is really talking about those hard skills. Everybody looks at those postings, you know, and sees the required qualifications that you need. And you go through those and you're looking at them and you're saying, yep, I can run that software. Yep, I can run that piece of equipment. Those are the hard skills that you have. But it's not just about those skills. It's also about other skills, you know, and you can see it in their postings, how they're reflected. They'll say things like, you know, must be great at working under pressure, must be good with team environments, you know, all of those things that are transferable. We've talked about transferable skills before. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and check some other videos out. But, you know, what we're really talking about with the ability is essential skills. Now, if you saw the commercial for this lovely live feed, you would have seen a couple of those essential skills pop up. And I was trying desperately to to capture them in my top-notch acting skills, I'd say. Top-notch, by the way. But, you know, and that's the meat and the potatoes of what we're really talking about when we're talking about being job ready. Yep, we want to be willing and able, or sorry, ready and willing, but we have to be able to do the job, right? We have to showcase those essential skills for employers, right? And what we mean by essential is that it really doesn't matter where you go, what job field you're in, there's going to be some common skills. There's going to be some common abilities. There's going to be some common, what they call competencies that you need to showcase. Now, let's just break that down for a second. What is competency? And I struggle even saying that one, right? Competency really doesn't just mean you have a knowledge, right? Having knowledge about, you know, how math formulas work or how, you know, recipes work, you know, that's great. I can know a recipe. That's, you know, I know my mom's recipe for bread, but that's not all about what competency means. It's the knowledge, specialized knowledge, right? I know that recipe. It's been passed down for many, many generations. But it's about being able to apply that knowledge and do it without mistakes, right? And so you're demonstrating that ability. You're demonstrating that knowledge. So yeah, I know the recipe. It's in my head. But can I apply that recipe to make the bread without it going and, you know, kind of diving in on itself? Probably not. But, you know, that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about competency in essential skills. So when we're all sitting around and we're, you know, isolated and we've got a little bit of extra time, these are the kind of things that we can absolutely work on, you know, at our leisure, so that you can start to build up on those essential skills. Now, you're still probably wondering, what are all these essential skills? So let's talk about some of these essential skills. Now, if you're wondering about any of the information that I'm going to be talking about today, please check out the descriptions in the link, or no, the links in the description. I'm still new at this, but check out the description because I do have all of the links that you might find interesting. So we're going to kind of plug them a little bit as we go, but if I forget, I'm sorry, check out the description. Okay, so let's talk about essential skills. Okay, so the first one that pops up is numeracy. right? And what we talk about when we say numeracy is we're talking about numbers. That's straight up numbers. I'm just going to say that I have done my utmost to avoid numbers my whole life. My math is like terrible. I was the last bumblebee to learn the multiplication tables in grade 4. Just terrible. And it went downhill from there. So, I've been lucky enough to continue to improve those skills, which we're going to talk about later, but numbers is something that I've struggled with. Numbers is something a lot of people struggle with, right? But numbers is something that we can't avoid. I mean, no matter what profession we're going into, we're going to hit numbers. I mean, I'm sitting here right now in my kitchen and I'm worried about, different numbers, in my own line of work. And so, you talk about, well, when are we going to use them? How many different fields are out there that have estimating, right? And you talk about estimating in a number of different ways. You can estimate, the supplies that you need for a job in construction. You need to estimate floor size and landscaping, yard sizes and how much rolls of grass and topsoil. And, it goes, and that's just that part. I mean, estimating can go into, estimating jobs for people, trying to say, well, how much is this job going to cost me as a business person? How much labor is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take? How much supplies is it going to utilize? What are those things that could possibly go wrong? And making sure that you've got those buffers. Money math is so important. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's going to disagree with that one. Making sure that your money math is accurate is going to make sure that not only are you good on the job, but that you're going to be successful in life. I mean, managing your own finances and budgets, that's a life skill. That's not just for any job. That's for you. And I think that's true probably with all of these essential skills. So money math, you think about the retail business, the retail business wouldn't be successful if it wasn't good at counting change. I think that their profits would suffer, customers would be mad. You're going to have all sorts of different issues that are going to be going on. And so money math is really important. Measurements from, all sorts of different things. Think about cooks and how they have to measure. And I think, I'm so simple. I think about those recipes that my mom gives me where it's like, I'm struggling with tablespoons and teaspoons. No. Like when we're talking about like actual cooking, we're talking about measurements by the pounds, by weight, because you're doing bulk preparations. And so being able to convert measurements from say, cups to pounds to whatever it is, that's going to be, for lack of a better word, essential. It's going to be so important for you to know those things. And, I think that with any of these skills, if you struggle with them, don't worry. It's not about perfecting these skills. It's about being able to continually improve on what your foundation is so that you can showcase that trend, right? Because we all know nobody's perfect, right? You're not perfect. I'm not perfect. The guy down the street's not perfect, right? The lady down the road's not perfect either. But we all learn. We all have that ability to get better, right? And so that's what we want to keep in mind. So we talk about analysis of data. That's another big part of numeracy, numbers, right? What does something mean, right? If I'm getting feedback from, quarterly reports, or if my boss is giving me performance numbers, and I don't understand what that means, or I can't apply those numbers. Think about how many times we get presented with charts. I mean, think about the whole coronavirus thing going on right now. Every day I'm seeing line charts, right? So, I mean, being able to interpret those numbers is hugely important, right? Data just shows us one part of it. It's what we do with the data that's really important. It's the why. What does this data tell us, right? It's that analysis that's going to be able to showcase that we understand what those numbers actually mean, right? And I think just at the very base level, when I think of numbers, I think of just contact numbers, right? Remembering my PIN numbers, remembering, important phone numbers. Those are things that are very, very simple, but they involve numbers. And you know what? If you struggle with numbers and remembering numbers, that can be something that can really be a hardship. So numeracy is just the first one that we're going to talk about. And I can already see that we're like 15 minutes and I can talk all day about this. So, thank you so much for staying with me. Let's continue to oral communication, which I'm doing a fantastic job of. oral communication, you think about that, you think about obviously talking with others, right? Being able to get your message across clearly and confidently, being able to have great customer service skills, welcome people to the establishment, being able to speak publicly, to get onto a podium or a Facebook feed and talk to people, and being able to maintain eye contact, which I'm doing a really not so great job today, but I'm going to get better. So, those are the kind of things that are really important. Communication is about being able to share ideas, being able to resolve conflicts, being able to, to connect with people. Really, I think at the end of the day, that's a big part of it. Being able to connect with your team is the first part in being comfortable, becoming comfortable with then developing ideas, with then becoming good at conflict resolution. So oral communication is really, really important. Okay. Number 3 is working with others. And I'm actually, my eye is drawn outside my window because I watched five people over there. I live in a subdivision and they're building a house over there. And three people walked up 3 different ladders carrying an eaves trough, while 2 people were leaned on the roof, and they attached it all together. All these roofers came together, and this piece of eaves trough, which is like the drain that catches your water and takes it down, that piece has to be 40 feet long. And the ladders that they were going up each were at least 40 feet. And so being able to work with others in something like that capacity is so important, not just for getting the job done and getting a job done well, but safety. I think that is something that we take for granted sometimes when we talk about, being able to work with others. It's being able to have trust in other people and being able to have them trust on you so that you can cooperate, so that you can have reliability. And, and I don't think any one of us would disagree that having somebody on our team can help bring us confidence to tackle some of the things that maybe we wouldn't have the confidence in doing by ourselves, right? And so, working with others is something that is an essential skill. So when employers are looking, they're looking, are you able not just to do customer service and put on that friendly smile, right? But are you able to cooperate and collaborate with your team? Are you able to work through conflicts? Are you able to discuss with people? Be okay with somebody that might not be the best person to work with, but you respect them enough that you can work together for a common goal. And that's not just for the team workers. That goes really almost double for individuals that are supervising management. Working with others is huge if you're a supervisor, if you're a team lead, if you have to give instructions to people, or if people have to trust to rely on you, not just for production, but for job safety, right? Those are the things that are absolutely essential. So the next one is reading documents, right? And I don't just mean, reading documents as in, reading these lovely keywords that keep you on track, or reading reports, things as simple as being able to read signs. Think about how many different chemicals you might come across into any one environment, right? Whether it's, hand sanitizer, disinfectants, or cleaning solutions, or who knows, right? I mean, there's a lot of things going on. You need to really have a good ability to read labels, read signs, to stay safe, especially now, right? With the COVID thing going on, being able to be aware of signs and being able to point them out and read them, right, is so important. So important, because there's so many bits of important information that can be compacted into just a tiny little sign, right? And so being able, to read a sign goes along with not just saying, okay, you need to be able to read the labels, but being able to understand some of the technical information, right? And technical documents. You think about how many different industries have their own industry language, right? And, you talk about healthcare, you guys have so many different medical terms, pharmacological terms that you have to know. I think of, even my own wife, who works for the government loves acronyms, right? I don't, she's like ABC, she's got an acronym from A all the way to Z, and she knows every single one of them. And, you know, I have no idea, but being able to learn those kind of things, if you're getting into the industry, that would be something that if I was going to go work for the government, I'd be hitting her up and saying, okay, let's take notes on what those acronyms are, right? Being able to familiarize yourself with technical terminology is essential because it shows the employer that you have that specialized knowledge, right? And if you remember back to the beginning when we talked about competency, the first part is specialized knowledge. Because if you can show the employer that you have that specialized knowledge, they're going to have confidence now that you can apply that, okay? So, you know, being able to read online resources, being able to navigate online, that's a whole different ballgame in itself, right? Just being able to go through like a Facebook tab, right? And know all the different tabs and what they do, right? Making sure that you can navigate those are essential, especially as we move forward. Again, it's a changing time, right? We need to be able to stay up to date with all of those new technologies and resources that are available to us, right? Right down to even text messages, right? Being able to read a text message effectively is absolutely important, as well as sending text messages effectively. I know we all love emojis. They're fantastic. Actually, I have to tell a little confession. My guilty pleasure is GIFs. Love them. Absolutely love them. But it's not necessarily a great way to convey information, especially in a professional setting. So making sure that you understand how to read those text messages appropriately and to send them appropriately, okay? Which goes right into the writing. That's an essential skill as well, right? Not just the words and the grammar that you're using, but that technical language, right? And I think that the one other thing that I'll add to being able to write is think about it in terms of both handwritten and typing. I know that we're getting away from, you know, a lot of the handwritten stuff. I don't think they teach cursive in school anymore, right? But being able to do a handwritten note is sometimes the fastest, easiest, most direct way to get your information across, right? Being able to type effectively, that is another huge one, especially if you're in a job where you find yourself needing to send a lot of different emails, custom emails. You got to be able to get those fingers from this to that. And that is something that can take time, takes practice, but also might actually just need somebody to teach you. Moving along, the next essential skill is thinking / problem solving, right? Being able to use your noggin, right? Use this. This is your biggest tool, right? And we don't just talk about it in terms of problem solving, although problem solving is going to be probably the number one thing. I don't think there's a day that goes by when your brain isn't involved in some sort of problem solving, you know, whether it is, I mean, I don't even need to get into that. We all have problems that we need to solve, right? And so what goes into that is not only being able to recognize what the problem is, but being able to, you know, make a decision, okay, based upon critical thinking. Okay, now let me break that down for a second, because we can all run into problems. We can all just have that bang, go to, I got the solution, right? The go-to solutions that we always kind of go to, right? And they generally work for the most part. But, you know, when you get into work, you're going to be faced with a lot of new problems, you know, especially if it's a new experience for you. And so those go-to scenarios might not work anymore. And so what you need to be able to showcase is that critical thinking, right? The ability to think outside the box. So what does that mean? Thinking outside the box. That means not being trapped only by prior knowledge. That is what it means by that, is by saying, don't always go to the go-to solutions. Look at the problem, try to understand the problem for everything that it's worth, then start looking at all of the different ways that you can solve it, right? And you know what? Sometimes ideas are just that. They're just ideas, right? There's no good ideas. There's no bad ideas. There's just ideas. And then eventually there's solutions, right? Because solutions are just ideas that are tested and proven that they work, right? So making sure that you've got that critical thinking skills is absolutely important. Being able to look at a problem, being able to think about that problem, being able to understand the needs of that problem or the challenges, and being able to apply new things or old techniques and new things to solve the issue, right? That goes, the same thing to be, finding the information. If you can't solve it through your own, your own capacity, your own ability, can you go find the solution? Can you go find somebody that can help, right? Because that's really part of problem solving. If I can't, solve my own heart problem, I got to go find me a doctor who can, right? And that's just as good. I feel just as accomplished at the end of the day. A couple of other things with thinking is memory recall, planning and organization. Those are absolutely integral, because if you don't have organization in the workplace, that's going to have an effect on all of those other areas. And if it spills out, right, then it's hard to rein back in. Okay, once you get so far behind or so disorganized, it's really hard to find your way back, right? So the next one is going to be document use, right? And I think that's the natural segue, right? Because with organization and planning, we all think of keeping our papers in order, right? Now, whether that's printed or non-printed, they're going to be the same way, okay? If you are, somebody that is used to files, use that filing system to keep things organized. I've got a box here of files right beside me. If I didn't have my files, I would be so unorganized. But the same thing can be said if you're talking about the computer as well, right? Make those little folders on your desktop. Get used to becoming organized in your digital space, because at the end of the day, whether it's digital or print, you need to be able to access things quickly, right? And it can be just as frustrating trying to find a digital document while you're on the phone with somebody important, whether it's a customer, a client, an interview, a manager, a potential whoever, right? That can be so overwhelming. So being able to produce those documents in a pinch is important, but don't forget about making the documents, right? Making a document in Word perfect. It's just Word now. Making a document in Word, making a pie graph or a line chart or any kind of chart in Excel, being able to produce reports, statistical analysis, whatever it might be. You need to be able to be confident in sharing information that is accurate, right? And easy to read. So one of the last things I want to talk about is that digital space, right? That your ability to utilize your digital resources, your smartphone, your laptop, your computer, whatever it might be, right? That's going to be absolutely paramount. There's so many industries now that are relying on technology to make things faster, to make things more proficient, that we need to make sure that we are willing, ready, and able to engage with those things, right? Think about industries that have their own software, right? A lot of industries now even use the social media. I'm working on the Meta Facebook page, right? And so I need to be able, that was one thing that I needed to be able to be comfortable becoming. I remember, if you go to my first video, by the way, you'll see that it's highlighted because I was late by 15 minutes, and then I was late by a day. So, right? Having the ability to manage industry software, or the software that your industry is using, is really important. And that goes beyond into, things like the workplace tools. Think about, I just get, my hair stands on end when I think about trying to learn how to manage one of those retail cash out machines. Those things, holy hampers, they got all sorts of bells and whistles on them. And so being able to manage the digital realm is so important, okay? Now, finally, this is the biggest part, and I think the biggest part for last is always the most important. Hurrah, the climax, right? The pinnacle of all this, and I think one of the most important things to people is, the essential skill of continuous learning. Have you ever met anybody that was a know-it-all, right? Or who thought they knew it all? And you know how frustrating that can be, trying to work with that person? It can be really, really frustrating. It can be unproductive, right? And we don't know how to manage those things. And at the same time, on the flip coin, if we find ourselves being, that person, the person that always seems to have the answers, we can almost find that, it gets wearing as well, right? But here's the thing. Nobody knows everything. Nobody has, nobody has the internet, at least yet, I don't think, plugged into their brain. They can't just bring up any nobody knows everything, right? So don't ever think that learning is over. I think that, when I was growing up, I always looked forward to finishing school, right? And even from like grade school, high school, I was like, I can't wait to get out of school because I'm done learning. Get to work, and I'm just going to work. I'm going to make money. I'm going to just be rolling in the dough because I've learned everything I need to learn by the age of 18. Woo! 20 years later, I'm starting to realize, and even now I'm struggling with it, that being a continuous learner, being a student for life, is something that everybody wants you to have, right? Because if life hasn't taught you anything by now, it should have taught you that things can change, like at the drop of a hat, right? And so we need to be able to adapt, right? And I think about all the things that are going on right now in the world. Think about that. Think about being able how to learn from the new facts that are coming in and being able to adapt so that we can be effective. You can get on with life. You can be happy, be productive, right? And so continuous learning is something that Essential Skills is really something that folks are going to be looking for. So, knowing how to learn. Are you a kinetic learner? Do you like to learn by having somebody show you? Do you like to read something? Are you a YouTube video person, right? How do you like to learn, right? But it's not just knowing how to learn. It's knowing where to learn, where to go to get those resources. And then finally, just doing it, right? So, there's a couple other things like, physical aspects and attitude, right? But I think, making sure that you have that physicality and making sure that you have that right attitude, is pretty common, right? And so those are really the essential skills that I wanted to really touch about, okay? Now, let's talk about resources that can help. We talked right at the beginning about being ready, right? We talked about, having that solid foundation, right? Being stable, if I'm going to go to work, do I have a place to crash at night? Do I have food on my table? What are those things that I need to be stable so that I can develop that routine and be consistent? Okay. And one of the things that I love and I keep in my office is this fancy handbook here. It is, oh my gosh, Community Services by the Hastings County. Now, I know I can't give this lovely thing to you because my resource just doesn't fit through the screen. However, in the link, I keep calling it a link. In the description, I've got links to hastingscounty.com. Okay, so take a look at hastingscounty.com. If you go to their website, you're going to see a whole bunch of resources. At the bottom of their page there, you're going to see community services. Click on that link and you're going to see a bunch of stuff pop up. Things from food and children's services to housing to legal services, you name it. Check it out, okay? So that is going to really help you with that foundation part of it, okay? But we also wanted to make sure that we really here for the meat and potatoes, right? Essential skills. So first thing, where do I find essential skills? That's the one thing. Like, what essential skills do I need? Which ones do I have? All those questions start popping up. And so making sure that you can first check it out is the first place to go. So what I tell people is to go to www.jobbank.gc.ca/essential skills. And you will be presented with finding your essential skills in your profession, okay? So if you go to that one and you type in something like, for an example, cook. I'll type in cook and I hit search. And what's going to happen is it'll come up and it'll say, okay, cook. And it'll give you a NOC code, which is the National Occupation Classification Code, 6322. And underneath it, it's going to give you those essential skills that people are looking for in that job, right? So for a cook, you got reading, document use, writing, numeracy, right? I think those are, recipe writing and measurements. We talked about that. But in there as well are things like oral communication and digital use. Now, if you think about cooking, I don't think digital use comes up, right? Like it's not the first and foremost thing that you think about having an essential skill when you think about being a cook. So check out that link. Go and find out more about what essential skills you need for your job that you're looking for, okay? Now, last but not least, you know what essential skills you need for the job. You know where they might be lacking. Where do I go to improve these skills? Meta's got the answer. So one of the answers that I want to share with you today is a fabulous resource that we call Community Learning Alternatives, CLA for short. Now, CLA has a number of different locations in Belleville, in Trenton, in Madoc, and Marmora, okay? Also, their information is in the description. I didn't say link this time. Yes, I'm continually learning. But you can also check them out at CLA-buildingskills.ca, okay? They've got personalized learning, right? And that's the cool thing is people are like, well, I don't really want, you know, I don't want to be stuck in a class with a bunch of people where I'm not learning something that's not going to be important to me. That's where they're cool, okay? Because what you do is you give them a call. They're going to set up a time to do an assessment, one-to-one assessment, a personalized assessment for you to see exactly what it is that you need to improve on. And then through that assessment, because assessment is key, data is number one, right? And then once they analyze that data, essential skill, then they're going to start building that plan with you, those interventions, okay? So please go check out their website. Check out the links in the description below, okay? So as always, I wanted to just take the time to say thank you so much for participating with me today. I see some comments, so may the 4th be with you yesterday. Thank you so much for enjoying the workshop. I do believe that essential skills are something that are absolutely important. You know, I think that, you know, if you're, the big thing is, you know, right. The big thing that I just want to make sure that you know is that first and foremost, the 2 C's, credit, compassion. Give yourself credit for the things that you know, for those successes that you've had, right? And give yourself compassion for the things that you might not know yet, right? Those lessons that you haven't learned yet, right? And give yourself that ability, that space to reach out. Be okay with reaching out to people. Be okay to, you know, whether it's through Facebook, whether it's through email, whether it's through telephone, whatever it is that you need to feel comfortable, please just be comfortable reaching out to us, okay? So if you have any more questions about anything that we've talked about today, type services into the comment section. We will get back to you, okay? And as always, if you type in get motivated, you win a chance, or you win a chance. Yes, you do win a chance to win a chance at a gift card. So get motivated, people. Stay happy, stay healthy, and join us next time. We're going to be talking about how to keep your job in the first 90 days, right? How to stay successful in that first 90 days. So stay tuned for that next week. Until then, stay happy, stay healthy, folks. We'll see you later.